An RT exclusive, WikiLeaks confirms the authenticity of a recording that could spin the narrative on Julian Assange. It shows the whistleblower did try to prevent, not facilitate, the release of thousands of sensitive US cables. It's claimed that the courts knew about the tape when deciding on his extradition to America.
This evidence that you heard, and I can confirm that this is authentic, is not new to the courts in the UK. Transcript of this conversation was presented to the court in September.
Also this hour, Russia sees its ban from all major sporting events over alleged doping cut in half to 2 years. But the country's clean athletes can't understand why a whole nation is being forced to compete as neutral.
Cities are not sent to prison for the crimes of a few.
It was clear that an attack was underway on Russian sport, so we would hardly be allowed to play under our flag.
And Groundhog Day for Google as the tech giant faces a second anti-monopoly lawsuit in as many days over claims it exploited advertising online. Hello there, welcome. You're watching RT International. Now, the head of WikiLeaks has confirmed the authenticity of a recording that could be a game changer for Julian Assange in an RT exclusive. The audio seems to prove that the Australian whistleblower in fact tried to warn the US State Department about a mass breach back in 2011, which turned out to be one of the biggest leaks in American history. Washington later claimed Assange wanted to endanger lives. Well, Christian Harafenson says the tape could put the brakes on Assange's extradition and charges amounting to 175 years in jail.
This evidence that you heard, and I can confirm that this is authentic, is not new to the courts in the UK. Transcript of this conversation was presented to the court in September. Well, this should have a tremendous weight because it basically throws out the argument that is in the narrative of the Justice Department in their indictment, and which they are trying to use to get him extradited out of the UK. They are talking about irresponsible behavior and putting lives at risk.
Well, following these revelations, more than 400,000 people around the world have already signed a petition calling on US officials to drop the charges against Assange. Politicians and activists want Donald Trump to pardon him before he leaves office in January. Here's Saskia Taylor.
Public enemy number one, a man with no conscience, no morals, no remorse. Julian Assange has been smeared as a villain who revealed the ugly face of US foreign policy.
I would argue that it's closer to being a high-tech terrorist.
This disclosure is not just an attack on America's foreign policy interests. It is an attack on the international community.
WikiLeaks walks like a hostile intelligence service and talks like a hostile intelligence service. Assange is a narcissist who has created nothing of value. He relies on the dirty work of others to make himself famous. He's a fraud, a coward hiding behind a screen.
10 years that narrative ran, but is it all about to change? Is it actually that the whistleblower was more concerned about the collateral damage of his expose than Washington itself? A newly released tape has revealed Assange attempted to warn the US State Department and then boss Hillary Clinton back in 2011. Not only does it seem she ignored the calls, she went as far as this.
He has to answer for what he has done.
So what was the motive for helping? A firestorm was coming in the form of a rogue WikiLeaks employee online.
We have intelligence that the State Department database archive of 250,000 diplomatic cables, including the classified cables, is being spread around and is to the degree that we believe that within the next few days it will become public, and there may be some possibility to stop it.
So not recklessly dropping a political bombshell, standing back and watching it burn, as we've been told all these years.
This guy's a traitor, a treasonous, and I'm not for the death penalty, so if I'm not for the death penalty, I only want to do it, illegally shoot the son of a...
He's done great discredit to this nation.
Assange should be assassinated.
He should be treated as an enemy combatant WikiLeaks should be closed down permanently and decisively.
No, instead we hear Assange trying to protect those in Washington, the very same who now want to send him down for life.
In case there are any individuals who haven't been warned, that they should be warned. Our view is that it's more your problem than it is ours, but we have been calling the State Department and the embassy for over a day trying to explain the urgency, and they have not called back.
It's thought that the WikiLeaks editor even advised the State Department's attorney on where the encrypted files could be allegedly found and offered help to remove them. A decade on, Assange is sitting in London's Belmarsh prison, waiting to hear whether he'll be extradited to the US to face a potential 175-year sentence. That's a hell of a sentence for someone who tried to warn the very top of what was coming. So is it any wonder now that calls are mounting for President Trump to pardon the whistleblower?
I'm hoping that he will pardon Julian Assange. It's the right thing to do.
Donald Trump, since you're giving pardons to people, please consider pardoning those who, at great personal sacrifice, expose the deception and criminality of those in the deep state.
Mr. President, if you grant only one act of clemency during your time in office, please free Julian Assange. You alone can save his life.
You, Donald Trump, can save Julian and encourage brave activists worldwide.
Time and timing is everything. It's changed the image of a man who was cast out as a traitor. And with it running out for Donald Trump's presidency and a man WikiLeaks burned set to replace him in the White House, this could be the last chance for America to pardon and forgive a man who wanted to save Washington from its shame. Time is of the essence for Assange to avoid a life in jail.
The assistance was offered to stop this or mitigate any possible harm to this. I have no idea why this was not followed through, and they took up the offer of the help that Julian was carefully and considerably worried in offering to the State Department. The State Department never came back to Julian for more information and seemed to have not done anything based on this warning.
Well, we spoke to journalist activists and former diplomats about these latest developments.
They've built a case around the claim that he's a loose cannon, that he's not a journalist. This obviously throws that out the window because it shows he was doing his due diligence, as he's always claimed to have done. But, you know, it doesn't change the American government's attitude. I will be astounded if Trump has the guts to pardon Assange and drop the charges against him, which I suppose he could actually order his Department of Justice to do still while he's lame duck president.
A lot of people have commented and replied saying that they had no idea and that they thought that Julian had endangered American lives and that he was reckless. They believed these lies that John McCain and people like that peddled for years. And I guess hearing Julian speak in his own voice and hearing him basically pleading with the State Department to help him help them to protect people really changed a lot of people's opinions, I think. I was very pleased to see so many attitudes shift. I'm hoping that it gets to Trump because I don't see how he could possibly hear that tape and continue this political persecution.
Remember, of course, that the people are really pressing for the extradition of Julian Assange and pressing for Julian to be prosecuted for espionage, for the crime of being a journalist. But the people who want that are exactly the same people who were pressing the false Russiagate narrative. So Donald Trump has a powerful motive to go against those people and to counteract their influence. So I'm not without hope that Donald Trump will issue a pardon.
Julian was not the first person to release this information. It was already on dozens of websites. It was being leaked on Twitter. Obviously, The Guardian, Luke Harding, had put up a password to get to the files. And then they ended up only prosecuting Julian. Julian is the only one who had to sit in an embassy. He's the only one who's currently sitting in prison. While dozens of other people published it before he did. what sense does it make to allow the first 99 people to go free and then punish the 100th person to do something?
It's been the Democrats that are angriest at him because of the Clinton tapes that he released, and the prosecution of the war under Obama. It was Obama certainly had the ability to pardon him or drop the charges. Really, it's dropping the charges because he hasn't been found guilty of anything, and that could have been done with the stroke of a pen anytime by Obama, and he never did it.
Nobody actually was harmed by the leaks in the end, and that's quite an important thing to state. The chances of the legal process in the end going against Julian are very limited. I mean, I think the grounds for extradition for a political offence, which is excluded by the UK-US extradition treaty, I think that will be knocked down by a higher court in the UK. If he were sent to the United States, I think the very obvious attack on the First Amendment implied in using the Espionage Act against a journalist would get it knocked down in the higher courts in America. So the ultimate legal outcome I'm not too concerned about. The problem is the terrible, terrible conditions Julian has been kept in maximum security jail alongside terrorists, conditions amounting to torture. And it's the process, not the outcome, which is a problem.